How are
I'm
you?
so good. How are you?
Good. I'm so thankful that you said you'd do this for me.
Yes, I'm so excited.
How was your trip?
Oh, it was so good. It was so nice. It was so wonderful. I went to Hawaii when I was 8, but I don't really remember it. So it was kind of like the first time for me. And I don't do tropical vacations. I'm like a mountains girl, hiking, boating. That's always where we've gone. And so it was like my first tropical vacation, and it's changed me. I want to go back. I loved it. It was
What?
we
It's just,
we went.
Hawaii is like a special place.
It is.
Yes.
It is. It was honestly, there's so many times where I was like, this doesn't look real. Like it feels like a highly edited photo, but it's
Yeah.
actually what it looks like. It's really that vibrant and bright and beautiful.
Yes.
And yeah, it was awesome. It was very much needed and relaxing and great.
Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy for you. You deserve it. You deserve
Thank you.
all of it.
Oh, you're too nice. I don't know. That's something I definitely struggle with. I'm working on this year, feeling like I deserve things.
Oh, should
But
we jump into that?
sure. I watched Ilona Mar. I love her. I
Yeah.
watched her in that viral interview being like, how do you deal with imposter syndrome? She was like, I don't have that. And I was like, I actually love that so much. And I want to like shift this year to being like, I think I grew up in a home where like humility is so important. And I do feel like it is important to like be grateful and humble and kind. But sometimes that gets in the way of me just sitting back and taking like I did that and I'm proud of myself and feeling like those feelings are negative sometimes, and that's my own problem. But being like, I worked hard and I can be happy for myself instead of just moving on to the next thing. But
Yeah. I I've always had imposter syndrome. I think that I might always struggle with that. I have
yeah.
anxiety, which leads to my OCD, which is like this
Yes,
cycle,
yes,
right?
yes.
I have found that well, we were talking at the hockey game, like
Yeah,
was it 3 weeks ago?
yeah,
Yeah, we were at the hockey game. We both got invited by Vivian. It was super fun.
yeah. Those are
Um,
my favorite.
Fun, amazing. But after events and after I put myself out there, when I'm at work, I'm like, I don't even think that I'm not meant to be here. Like,
Yeah.
I have enough to do to keep me busy. But like after events, I would drive home and just feel like, oh, why did I say that one thing? Or
Yes.
people don't think I belong,
Yes.
or just like
Hyper
questioning
analyze
myself.
everything.
Yes,
Yes. That's
yes,
me
and
too.
stay up late and be like, ah.
Yes.
Um,
Replaying everything and being like, did they take that the way I meant it? Or was it
yes,
a different way? Yeah,
yes,
I struggle with that too. But I feel like it's nice to know that other people struggle with it, because sometimes you get stuck in your own head at those things, and realizing that other people feel that way too, that you look up to,
uh-huh,
really helps you be like, we're all just going through the same things, you
totally,
know?
totally. But I have a trick for that.
Okay, I want to hear it.
Okay, so after each event, I actually just was in Dallas or Fort
Yeah, I
Worth
saw that. It looks so
with
fun.
Vivint. Met a ton of like girls that have millions of followers on TikTok, and like I'm like, you guys, I think I have like a couple thousand. Like, this is,
But
um,
those numbers don't matter.
I know, but you, like I said, I just
Yes.
get in my head sometimes. So when I'm at an event, I will pay very close attention to what people like, things I notice about people that are true that they may or may not know. I feel like this is one of my actual gifts where I can see people in a way that I don't in a way that I see strengths before I see weaknesses, and then and because of that I will reach out to everyone that I talk to at the event and tell them, hey, I think this is really cool that you do this, or I love this part, this thing you're doing, or I'm super inspired by this quality or gift you have, and I want to like try to figure out how I can like take some of it. And as soon as I started being intentional when I'm talking to someone, and then also being intentional after I left them, and not only noticing but voicing
I
that.
I
um,
love that.
my imposter syndrome went away.
I love that.
So I still, if I it creeps up, I'm like, oh, I need to forget about myself
Yes. Yes.
and focus
No,
on
I think that's
others.
always the
Yeah.
solution. I love that. I'm gonna start implementing that. I'm gonna steal it if you don't mind.
Well, my friend Kimmy would do it. Like every time we'd hang out, she'd be like, "Oh, you're such a good friend, and I love you so much," and blah blah blah. And I would leave the event not worrying about anything, you know.
Yeah,
And I'm like, "Oh, I think that might be the trick," and it totally works. It's a
I
trick.
love it.
Tips
That's amazing.
and tricks. Yes, yes. Elise, welcome to Started from the Bottom.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you here. An entrepreneur focused podcast about getting started. So, how did you get started, Elise?
Oh man. I feel like I feel like especially in the creator space, it can be like really an odd growth pattern because for me, back when I started, it wasn't ever something that was considered a job. And it wasn't something I considered a job either. Like it was something that I just considered a hobby and fun. And it really just started with being authentic, I think, and being vulnerable is really where like it all grew out of. So my parents struggled with infertility after they had me. And so I kind of grew up in that world of like wanting a sibling, going through hard things. You know, both my siblings came when I was, let's see, I was 6, so we were 6 years apart, and then I was 16 when my little sister. So we've got big gaps. And so when my husband and I started experiencing infertility, I was just done with it being so taboo and like not really talked about. And Instagram was brand new. And I asked my husband permission and just like started sharing our infertility journey and being like really raw and open and honest. And it was just like positive reinforcement. And when you get positive reinforcement from doing something, it's so much easier to keep doing it. It was really just positive, just finding other people that were going through the same things and having people just become really invested in like in us and wanting, the dream to come true for us of having kids. But then after that happened, I had this little platform, I had my kids, and I didn't really have a direction. It was kind of just like I like to do this. And my husband is an entrepreneur, and he was the one that was like, "You are working on this so long, so often, you are putting in so much time, and like it's great that you're getting stuff for free. That's really cool." But there's a reason they're giving you something for free. It means that you have something that's valuable and like that you could make something of it. And I truly didn't really believe it, like, or understand it, especially it being something that was so new, like, and very untransparent. Like, I think people were making money at that point, but people weren't open about it at all. So you didn't really know. Anyways, but it was when I decided to launch my own product that, and then I saw the back end analytics that I was like, oh my gosh, when I actually saw what I was driving, when I saw the sales I was driving, I was like, I do have value. It was seeing the other side of the coin that made me be like, oh my gosh, yeah, I do have something that, is worth charging for, that is worth investing in, like, and that's what made me really dive into it. And then in 2019, I felt like I really wanted to like niche down. And so that's when I went straight into like home and DIY. And that's when it really exploded. And
I
it's been
was
so fun.
not lucky. Well, I don't think, I think luck is always a part of,
Luck is a factor because
yes.
I feel like I went into the home space literally like 6 months before COVID.
Yeah, that's what
And
I was
that
going
just
to say.
was lucky because everyone is at home focusing on their homes, not spending their money on vacation, spending their money on DIYing. Most people had never DIYed. And so they were kind of going through that process with me when I had already started. And I feel like that was lucky. I know I've put in a lot of work but that the timing part of it was, but at the same time, it was like I saw a few other creators that were focusing on DIY and we're seeing growth, but I only knew of like probably 3 that had really niched down to that area. And I remember exactly we were in bed one night and I was like, I think I'm going to stop posting all lifestyle and I am just going to hone in and be really like purposeful and really treat it more like a business than I have been in the past, and really like hone in and try like really hard. And so I also did make a concentrated effort to go into that. But yeah, that's when it really started to grow, and it's a unique job and space that's constantly being navigated, but it's also super fun and amazing, just like any job, I
Tell
guess.
me, I guess I want to hear more about that statement at the end, that it's always being navigated, because I'm sure like
It just
2019 to
constantly
2025.
changes. Yeah.
Yes. Like,
Social
so maybe
media.
you walk us through like the difference of
Like,
those 6 years.
yeah, I feel like at first it was like stories were pretty new. And so, I mean, I would just post everything in stories. It was just video after video. I wasn't heavily editing them. It was just in real time on there. And then it was photo. It was photo heavy. So it was, you know, a picture of each step of the progress and then a picture that was the reveal. And there was very little time editing. You were literally just editing a video or a picture. I mean, like you were just editing a picture to share. And I felt like that was a simpler time that I miss sometimes a lot. Um, because it wasn't, and I don't know how much of it was that I wasn't clued into it and how much of it was that the space was changing as well. Like those two
Like,
things are kind of moving
maybe
independently.
ignorance was bliss
Yes,
a little
yes.
bit.
I
Yeah.
think it's
Okay.
kind of like those things are moving parallel with each other. But I definitely think I, one of the biggest things I did for my business was trying out new things. And so I got on TikTok super early when it was a lot of like, you know,
Dances.
or scare tactics of that you know it's really dangerous and bad. And I just started reposting my content there. But TikTok was such a switching point for social media in general, because I quickly was on there and realized, oh my goodness, they give you the formula here. Instagram, it was very much like, what do I need to do for things to be seen? But it was hard to really know. But TikTok, they gave you the formula because they had that For You page. It was like, if I just sit here and I study what is happening in these videos that is going on the For You page, and I just try to take notes and think about, okay, this is successful. Why is this successful? And how do I make my content look like this? And then I carried that content over to Instagram before it was really there. And I feel like that helped my growth on Instagram a lot, because Instagram was trying to compete with TikTok. It didn't have a lot of creators that were making TikTok like content. And so I think that it benefited my content and my algorithm. They started pushing my stuff more because I was really focusing on video really early. And yeah, so
When did Reels come out? It was between
um
now and then, right?
yeah, it was after TikTok really started going. Um,
It was like 2022 or
yeah,
something. Might be
yes,
a
but
little
I
longer.
started posting mainly video in a TikTok format before Reels came out. So I was posting it back when it was like it would crop it to a 3x4 video and it was seen as a post. It was before Reels came out. I started heavily focusing on video. Um, so I think that in the constantly evolving space of social media, which is personally I think the hardest part of my job, is that you kind of get into a groove of like, this is what works, this is what they're focusing on, this is what gets my content seen to people, and then it'll switch like as soon as you start feeling comfortable. And so you have to be like pushing yourself to constantly evolve, constantly be creative. I think that's the case probably with any business, but that's, at least for me, sometimes the part that gets me exhausted, you know?
Yeah, and I also, well, sorry, let me gather my thoughts for a sec. What when you're talking about studying TikTok, it
Yeah.
reminds me of like when I went on Shark Tank, which was, don't ask, I mean, you can ask me about it, but it was
I've watched
so
it
long ago.
multiple times, your
It was
episode,
so long
multiple
ago
times.
that I don't think that my memory of it is real. So we can talk about it, but it might be just like my good narrative of what did or didn't happen. But I watched a few episodes and I was like, oh, it feels like some people are prepared and some people are not prepared. And so let me kind of dig into that. And so then I dug into, you know, it started like a pattern started to emerge where I was like, oh, here's basically the 10 questions that they ask in different ways,
Yeah,
each episode, each segment. So I was on season 6, so I watched every season prior to every
prior
episode, wrote down
every
every question,
question.
and then I
Amazing.
created flashcards for myself. And then so then day of, when I got out there, I was so nervous. I couldn't do, it was hard for me to do the part where you had to like speak by yourself. But then once they started asking questions, I was like, oh, easy, I got this, no
Yeah.
problem. And I think that is that the part that's exhausting, is like you had to study all this new stuff that's like kind of try to figure out the algorithm and then apply it. Like, is that the part where you're like, I don't know if I have that in me
I
again?
actually think it's the creative part. Like
Okay.
I can see like, okay, so this is the type of video, but then you have to make it fit your niche and your audience. You can say like, this did really well. How do I make this work for my, my brand? And just that creative effort like every day. And it's not only happening for me in creating the content, which now consumes so much time. Whereas before it was like, it wasn't heavily edited. It was just, here's a long story and it's not going to impact, my views. I can just post whatever. And now it's like, does it catch someone in the first 3 seconds? Does it have an audio hook? Does it have a video hook? Does it have, like, and then the actual effort of being creative in the projects that I do. Like creativity is really important to me. And so like I feel like, and I don't know if it's like something that I should let go of, but if I'm gonna make something, I want it to be something that inspires and is creative and is new. Like, I feel like that is kind of what I've put my job in as a creator. Like, I'm not gonna just go out and copy somebody else. Like, my job is to be at the forefront of, creating something that inspires someone in some way or another, and that pushes like the limit on something that I personally haven't seen before. And that's the part of it that, like, even in the projects, I'm like planning and I'm like, well, I could do this, but how could I make it unique and different? And it's every day, and then how do I edit this video in a different, unique way? And then you get to a point that something's working for you, and other people notice and watch that it's working for you, and it's flattering, but they start doing the same thing, and then it loses its effectiveness. And you're like, okay, I have to adjust. Like, if I'm going to be new and forefront and exciting, then I have to adjust what I'm doing to something new. And that's the part probably that, like, you feel good when you finally get in a groove and you're like, this is working, this is great. And then it stops being as effective and you have to push yourself, which is what makes it fun, that it's always different. But sometimes it's just like, I want a brainless job that someone tells me what to do and I can do
Do
it.
you really? You
I think
don't.
I would want it for like a week and then I'd be bored,
Then you'd
probably.
start to be like, you know what we could do? We
Yes,
could blah, 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 blah.
100%. Yeah, I always tell my husband that and he was like, no, you don't. Like,
Um, okay, so can you talk about a few times where you've maybe been burnt out creatively, and then how did you recharge?
yeah, I think that's part of the struggle for me as well, is that the best way for me to recharge that I have found is like I just did, going on a trip. Because my work is in my home, it creates really blurry division lines that can be hard, like mentally, because I go to bed and I see a project sitting out and it's like it's physically there reminding me that I should do it. And sometimes have a hard time being okay with letting myself stop work because I'm in my workplace 24/7. And so the only time that I truly, truly feel like my brain's not thinking about what I should do is if I like leave. So that's we go on probably more trips than most people do, but it's like that is the only way I feel like I can reset and recharge. Um, and the problem is I always get dinged from it. Like if I take any time off, I get dinged from it. Like it
What do you
takes
mean?
me just on
Algorithm?
my views, yeah, on
Oh,
the
okay.
algorithm. It just takes me, it doesn't mentally hit me like it used to, where it would feel like I took time for myself And I got pushed back so far because of it. Like I have a negative reinforcement of putting myself first. How do I push through that? And now it doesn't freak me out as much because I know how to get back. Like I know like that's okay. I will, it'll take a little bit of time, but things will get back to where they were. And I've gotten better at riding the roller coaster of just knowing that, content will go like this, I'll get momentum, and then I have to take a break and it'll come down, and but overall it's going up and that's fine. So, um, but truly, like probably getting out of my house, which is sad, but that's just the nature of my job. I feel like I have a hard time if I'm in my home feeling like I shouldn't be doing something, or even just my creative part of my brain thinking of like, oh, I could do that, or looking at a spot, I could do this, because my home's my canvas for my work. And so that's probably, it's just what I found to be the most effective. I have ways on a daily basis that I try to disconnect. Like I really try to have a firm timeline. I used to work at night. I used to put my kids to bed and I would try to get projects done as fast as possible because I thought that it was benefiting my business, and I was just wearing myself out just completely. And I realized that's not healthy. Like I have to have non-work time in my home. So I don't work in the evenings anymore unless I have some crazy deadline that I'm not getting to, but usually I don't put myself in that situation anymore. So that's probably how I combat it at home. But like the pure rest and relaxation and reset is just getting out of my
Leaving,
house. Yeah.
changing your
Environment.
environment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think that's sad. I think it's like so important to know what
Yeah.
recharges you, and so important to um, give yourself adequate time to recharge.
Yeah.
Um, Otherwise,
It
like you
makes
can't.
me a better business. It makes me better at my job in the end, because, and it makes me a better mom and a better wife, because I really do, like, right before we went to Hawaii, I was like at a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need to figure out how to adjust. Like I'm so like worn out. And then by the time I got back, I was so invigorated, excited, had so many ideas, was ready to hit the ground running. And that's how I know that it like works for me, if I'm really like excited about like the work.
Yeah,
And I found that it usually happens every like 3 to 6 months that I really need to just get away.
you need a week long trip quarterly.
Yeah. Which is,
Perfect.
that's great.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. And then where do you get your inspiration from then when you're like on your trip? Is it nature? Is it just your kids?
I
Is it
think it's,
beautiful hotels?
yeah, like for coming back to work, I think it, honestly, a lot of times it's architecture. I love looking at architecture or ideas or colors or all that stuff of where I am that gives me like, ooh, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. Or even just the time to not be thinking about anything, that once my brain is back, it's like I've had a break from being creative, and now it's a lot easier too, because I really in the end love being creative. It's why I do this and why I still love it and still do it and have done it for so long, is because it's so fun to like everything to be different every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm. I feel the same way when I travel. I feel like distance gives me perspective in a way
mhm.
that I don't gain when I'm in the weeds. And so, like, coming back from Dallas this last week, it was just like so nice to see the business and see all of the issues that I'm dealing with, whether real or perceived,
Mhm.
and just kind of seeing everything and being like, okay, I actually know what is important now because I have enough distance that I can gain a
Yeah.
perspective that I didn't have before.
And honestly, sometimes it's just a staycation. Like sometimes we just go to Salt Lake and or Park City and go to a hotel, and like it doesn't have to be like some extravagant Hawaiian vacation, which was wonderful, but sometimes it's just like the distance, even if it's not far,
Have you
like does it for me.
been to Venice?
No, we went, so I studied abroad in London,
Oh, fun.
and I met my husband literally right when I got back from studying abroad. So I've been talking to him about it forever, and he's never been to Europe. And we spent all of our savings on IVF, and then since then it's just been on homes and kids, and we finally got there this summer. I got to take him to Europe, and we didn't make it to Italy, but it just made me want to go back. It was the best. It was like dream trip of a lifetime. It was amazing. It was so
Oh,
much fun.
where'd you guys
We
go?
went to London. We were there for a long time because since I lived there, I had a lot I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And we did like day trips outside of London. But we were in London for a week, and then we were in Paris for like 4 days, I
Okay.
think. And that was magical. I didn't love Paris when I studied abroad, but I guess Paris is for lovers. It was awesome. It was so fun.
Paris is for rich lovers.
Yes. We
You don't
we
have
found
to
the
be rich, but you
coolest.
have to have a rich mentality when you're there, I
It's
think, and then
true.
it makes it
Everything's
more fun.
so, which, yeah, we went to Versailles and we just went all out. We got the little golf cart to
Yeah.
drive us around for the day. And I was like, this is going to be expensive. Like, this will probably be one of the more expensive things we do on the trip, but I think it will make Versailles so much more enjoyable. And Scott was just like, well, we're in the place that they said let them eat cake, so let's
Yeah, it is.
let's get the. It's so
I
extravagant there. We got the golf cart. We had so much fun.
I took
But
my daughter to Paris when
oh, I
she was
remember
15.
seeing that
Yeah.
actually.
Well, someone told me that your daughter's first trip to Paris should always be with you. And I was like, oh, I love that. I love that.
That's so
Um,
fun.
but something we did there was I can't remember the open air painting square where all the people go and paint. It's up by the
Oh,
train.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got this beautiful like character portrait done of her. And so we're going back for spring break and I'm going to get my son a matching one.
How
Because
fun.
he's the same age she was at the time we went. And I'm super excited. I love
Yeah.
Paris. Paris is
Yeah.
great.
My
But I
husband
think,
wants to go back this summer because he wants to see Notre Dame now it's finished. He was
oh,
like,
is it back
it's
open?
back open.
Okay.
It looks unreal. I went when I studied abroad. I went and it was like of all the cathedrals I went to, it was probably one that didn't, I mean, it was famous, but it wasn't like, oh, this is so pretty. It was really dark. And but they cleaned the entire thing. They said that it looks like white on the inside. They cleaned off not only all the ash from the fire, but they said they cleaned off like thousands of years worth of dirt off the walls and off all the paintings, and then it's like beautiful.
You know that the restoration crew in Notre Dame came out and visited the Provo City Center Temple?
No,
Yeah,
I didn't know
someone
that.
told me that the guy who used to be the
It
mechanical guy there.
makes sense. It's a
Yeah,
similar.
yeah. So if you're not aware, there's a temple for my church of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Provo that used to be a different use for the building, and it burned down one day. Um,
I was
and
actually,
actually,
it was the day after Scott and I met. It was
oh
the next
really?
morning that it burned down. Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild. It was like big news and it left kind of the shell of a building. It was very similar to
Yeah.
Notre Dame, in fact. Yeah.
Yeah. The whole thing.
And the restoration thing is that they dug down and they found like this well underneath and they had to do all like it ended up being, I think, so
We
expensive.
lived
But then
right down
you
there the whole time we were restoring it. Yeah, we were like a block, like
yeah,
or when we first got married, and we walked every Sunday and just walked around, and it was wild. They had the whole thing on stilts. It was
yes.
crazy.
So when they dug down in Notre Dame, they found a spring under there.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
yeah, so the similarities just kept adding up. So I think our church invited the Catholic Church out there and or to Provo to tour and to see all the different like things that they did to keep
To
the
restore
building
it.
sound.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah,
I didn't know
love
that.
that. Okay, well, you would love Venice. I went with my girlfriends a few years ago, and we did all of Italy. So if you want, I have like all the places we stayed, all the places we ate, and it
Yep,
was so,
yep.
so fun. But
My
Venice
girls
is,
want me to leave again. My parents watched the girls. They had their dream trip while we had our dream trip because my parents are just so much fun. And they
Yeah.
had 12 days at my parents' house that was just plans every day, treasure hunts every morning, just planned to the extreme. So they were like, "Are you going on a trip? You should go on a trip this summer." So I'm like, "Great. You want to go
Okay, so
back
you're doing
there?"
Paris and Italy, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, it's the Jubilee year, so maybe not this year in
Oh, is
Rome.
it going to be really, really busy?
I don't understand what that means, but my friend David, who goes to Rome a lot, keeps telling me that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I've never been to Italy. Even when I studied abroad, I didn't go. I went to Prague instead. We had
Oh,
like a weekend that we could go wherever we wanted. We went in a group of four, and a big group went to Italy. But I was like, I don't know. I feel like Prague's like I just had always wanted to see it because it's really unique because it's Eastern Europe, but it wasn't destroyed. So much of Eastern Europe was destroyed in World War II. I'm a big World War II fanatic. I love history. I was actually there because I was a history major, but Prague was amazing. It was crazy. It was so cool because it's so old and nothing was destroyed. It's so beautiful. So I
I'm
don't
adding
regret
it
it,
to my
but
list.
add it to your list. And it's very affordable because the conversions, I remember just like eating at these super fancy restaurants as a broke college student, being like, this is so cool.
Oh,
Because
I love it.
everything was so, you know, we had so much money there because of the conversion. So it was fun. It was fun.
Ugh, let's go on a trip.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds great.
I know. I got back from Fort Worth and I booked 2 more trips, and then I have some trips booked. I'm traveling a lot this year. Some years, you like go into the year, you're like, this is a travel year, and that's been this year, both for
It's
work
my
and
favorite
pleasure.
thing to spend money on. If it's just like it's
If-
it's just those experiences are worth so much more than anything else you could buy. Just
Yeah,
the memories and the time together. It's my favorite thing to save for.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so back to your business.
Distracted by travel.
Well, I love I think have you ever read The Art of War
I haven't.
by Stephen Pressfield? It's not the war, no, it's the War of Art, not the Art of War. The War
No,
of Art by Stephen
I
Pressfield.
haven't.
And he talks about the war when you enter into a creative field, the war that you kind of engage in with yourself every day.
Ooh, I'm gonna read that because that's what I feel like.
It's a super easy read. It changed my life. I
Oh,
think about it all the time.
writing it down
I
right
have
now.
phrases. It's an easy listen. It's an easy read. It's one of my 2 business books that I recommend. The other is The E-Myth by now I can't even remember who that one's by, but both of those are fundamentally sound. I think in anything you're doing. But he in the art of War of Art. I can't even remember War of Art. Now I got to look it up. Oh, I have my
Yes,
computer here. But
you'll have
he
to
talks
send me the
about,
link afterwards.
okay, I will. I will. War of Art or Art of War? War of Art. Stephen Pressfield. Yeah, War of Art. He talks about how important it is to preserve your creative time, and then to uh, also preserve your personal time. That they kind of like help each other. And I think that's what we've been talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's vital, or else you'll just creativity has to be like fed. If it's not, I feel like it's like the glass. If the glass is empty, then you can't be creative.
Yeah.
Like, and so you have to reset to get that like inspiration.
Totally. Okay, Elise, are you gonna run out of wall space?
Not currently. We just bought a
Not
new house. It actually was
currently.
not in our plans at all. So we had like really finished our last home as far as like DIYing projects. There wasn't like a lot like it felt complete. And the only things that didn't feel complete also from a financial standpoint just didn't make sense. Like I had always wanted to redo a kitchen. I've never done a kitchen. But we had done so much to this cookie cutter house that I was like, if we put in this kitchen and I spend all this money on this kitchen, I will not get that money back out if I ever sell. Like it just doesn't I've reached the top of what I can build in equity in this home. And I didn't like hate the kitchen. So I kind of, that's when I actually pivoted and we started what we call the giving workshop. And we built this big trailer that is a mobile workshop on wheels. And we have people nominate families or individuals who have been through something hard and who could use made over space or just something in their home that's going to bring them more joy. And that was really like where I was taking my business was like, I'm going to do these giving builds. And we've done a few. The last one was like so special for this little girl, Cadence, who has cancer, and we made her a like playroom. It was amazing. It was so fun. And then we found this home and decided to move, mainly because of the yard. It has like we were really limited on yard space, and both of us always wanted more land. And the yard and the view was just like this just feels like it for us. So now I do have more I can do in my own home, but I'm still doing those a few times a year. Um, I, with my kids at the ages they are, I was thinking once they went to school that I could go and do these projects, and work outside of the home in the giving workshop, but it's just so much harder. There's so many things every day that they need me, and that's my number one is really being there for them. So I realized that I can't do those giving builds constantly, but I can do them, like 3 to 4 times a year, like, sometimes quarterly. And that's about what I can do when it comes to planning it, going there, to spending the time, and those projects I have to be fast because I'm in someone else's home. I don't want to leave them with a mess, so I really want to be like efficient. And it's just a lot higher workload. And being able to do them at home and then come back and do them at a pace that fits my lifestyle, and being a mom, like the balance of the two has been really good, I feel like. So.
Okay, so we're not running out of
No,
wool anytime soon.
no, not running out of walls.
And
Got a whole new
walking
blank
through
space.
the house, were you like, oh, I want to do this and this, like a blank canvas kind of?
Yes, it is a total blank canvas. It fits it's what I've always done, and I think that I love. Um, I've thought about like building a custom home because I think it would be so fun, but there's something I love building. Like I think it's so much fun there's such a gratification that's different that comes with like building something yourself and putting in all this work and then using it every day. You just have like a different appreciation for it. You just have like the satisfaction of your home that's like really deep, that it's like my old home was so fun to walk in and use everything and be like, I built that. Like I am a true homemaker. Like I made this home what it is in every sense. And I've just always loved that. So this home was perfect because it was like the lot we wanted, the location we wanted, an incredible view, so much space, the floor plan that I loved, but it was like bare cookie cutter, no changes had been made to it really. And the finishes were, you know, especially for the neighborhood, were a little bit lower. And so it just gave me a blank slate. We redid the floors and had all the walls painted before we moved in, just because then it really gave me a total blank slate and it was really fun. I felt like it reinvigorated a lot of my creativity, and it was one of my followers. Some of my followers were like, they were really attached to my old home, and so I was a little worried how it would go. They'd watched me build up that home, and I really didn't plan on moving. I wanted to show like you build something and then you enjoy it. But from a creative space, someone was like, it's like giving a kid the same piece of paper that's been drawn on and expecting them to just keep drawing on it. That's a lot harder to do than when you get like a brand new piece of paper. You get a, think creatively all over again. And that's kind of how it's felt for me. It's been really fun to like start over. Some parts of it I really miss in my old house, but
Um, I do you feel okay? So then I have a lot of
yes,
questions.
yeah,
That is so good. Do you feel like your community has like grown with you? When you I feel like
100%.
okay. So when you were doing IVF,
Mm-hmm.
let me back up. I have noticed sometimes, depending on like the community that you build, they don't like you to change. They're like,
Right.
we want you to be in this bucket. This is why we're here, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. So maybe talk about the transition from IVF to home and like, did you lose followers? Was that scary? And then even like this new transition, like, hey, now I have this new space.
Yeah. I feel like the if I've learned anything, like really purposeful change that you want to last should be slow change, which is hard to do as someone who's impatient. But I feel like that's been true for me. So transitioning at least from IVF, infertility focused like lifestyle into home, I was very, very purposeful of like, okay, this is going to be a change I make over a year. Like I knew I wanted to make the change, but I knew that that it like people would lose seeing me in it if I just did it like hard. So I literally had like a formula every month that was just like, this month I'm going to post this many home things in, kind of a ratio. And I just increased the ratio. And about halfway through the year, it's 50-50. And then by the end of the year, it had flipped to be, 10%, 90% home. And in that time, I only grew. I didn't have any. I mean, it's hard because there were probably people who were like, this is not my thing and left. But I
Which is
feel like so many
honestly
it's
great,
it's
honestly.
fine.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone will I used to feel like when I first started that unfollowing was so like personal and mean. And I don't feel like it at all anymore. I feel like I have really good friends who probably follow and unfollow me and I don't care because it's Instagram and social media and what you're viewing is so personal and I feel like you adjust it all the time of like this is what's good for me to watch and this is what's filling my cup and inspiring me. And like if I'm not giving that to someone, if they that's fine, but I can't control how everyone else views me. I just have to be happy with what I'm doing and the right people that want to see it at the right time will be there. But no, I just experienced a lot of growth once I niched down and started focusing on that. I think it also was because before it was like, day-to-day stuff, but this was like a journey and like it was purposeful and I had never picked up a power tool at all and they were along the ride with me. I actually have polled my audience like quite a few times, like how many of you have actually used a power tool? And it's pretty low. I think it's like 10%. And but it's why I haven't changed my handle as Hunters of Happiness because I like that's what I'm exploring and loving right now, but I feel like I just want it to inspire people to never stop growing and finding the things that, like make them happy because sometimes we just limit ourselves. I totally did that with power tools and it was so eye-opening to be like even though I'm pretty I mean like I'm like women empowerment, I had somehow like been like that's something my husband should do. Even while being like a women empowerment girly and like I'm, doing my own thing, I was like, when can you help me build this thing in my house, And it was really when he was like, oh, in like 2 weeks, I'll have time. We could work on it on a Saturday. That I was like, what am I doing? Like, I could do this. Like, I like teach me how to use a saw and I will figure it out. And it was really that realization of like that I had put a limit on myself and then pushing through that was so empowering. And I think that's actually what people enjoyed watching more than even that it was power tools, but just seeing someone like try something new and like push themselves. And that's what I really want people to get from it is I don't care if it's power tools. I don't care if it's DIY or crafting. I just hope that they realize the capability of themselves to do something new at any point. If they're a mom, they're busy, like there's so many avenues for you to like pursue self-growth and that self-growth is confidence building in all areas of your life. Like it's not just in one. Like the confidence I've built in myself from going on this journey of trying new things is not just in like I'm confident that I can build something. Like it's in so many other areas of my life that I've become so much more self-confident because of it. And I don't know, it's really inspired myself to be like, don't tell myself I can't do something. Like if that's something I want to try and pursue, like of course I could do that. Of course I could push myself hard enough.
Yeah.
Like and that's a really like that really opens you up to just life,
Yeah, because it's
and
applicable everywhere.
everywhere. Yeah.
Okay, So then I have a question that based on that, do you feel like you've always seen the potential in situations and people like you do your house?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I
I
think
think I think
I
that's
think I
like
see
something
it
that's
even more
really,
now
yeah.
than I did before, but I always feel like um that's something that I'm like, you could do this. Like you could, like um but even more now, like if I have friends that ask me questions, or even followers. I had one person when I went to Hawaii message me, and I think it was meant to be like kind of cutting. Like she was like, "Oh, like I can't go on a Hawaiian vacation. I guess I should become an influencer." And I was like, "You totally should. Like 100%. Like if you want to have the freedom to do this, like I mean, sometimes it looks like it's easy and like it happened overnight, but like I spent 8 years before I really made any money. And I'm not gonna sink into the mindset anymore that just because it's public that I don't, that it's not like I work and it's okay that I'm paid. Like there was a period of time where I felt really guilty for the income that was coming in relation to the work that I was doing. And now I'm like, you know what? I worked really hard and I support my family and I'm proud of myself. Like I'm proud of what I've built. I'm proud of the other women I've been able to hire and support. And like, I'm not gonna let someone's, desire of the same thing is usually what it is. It's usually that they see that and they want it for themselves.
Yeah.
And their insecurity allow me to feel bad about it anymore.
Yeah.
But it turned into a good conversation. I was like, you should do it. And she was like, I don't have enough time. And I'm like, you could literally, I started so part-time. Like, like if you really want it, I really believe you could do it. There's so many resources, there's so much space. Like, if you want it, don't put that limit on yourself, like ever. Like, you could do it.
Yeah. I was talking to this girl yesterday who has a company, and I was like, "Oh, what's next for you?" And she's like, "Ooh, I'm actually going into diaper rags." And I was like, "Oh, good for you." Like,
Yeah.
amazing. I
There's,
was like, "It's a hard market, but let me know if you have any questions." Like,
and
I think there's enough room for everyone.
yeah, and I actually think realizing that that's the mindset that creates the most growth too.
Hmm.
Like, and for me, I found a group of other creators that we've been kind of like, we were all kind of the same size, doing the same thing at DIY. And I think a lot of people outside would have seen us as competitors to each other. We have a lot of same brands we work with, we're sharing similar things. But we just like grouped together and have been so honest and communicative and shared everything. And it's made us all grow bigger, like together. And just like no one hides anything or feels like, oh, I'm not going to share that contact. Like it's so open. And I feel like it's benefited all of us. And there's been so much more growth because of that. And really having that mindset that there is room for everybody because there is. Like there, you know,
Yeah.
it's just the truth. It's really still pretty new. People ask me all the time, is it too concentrated? I'm like, of course it's more concentrated when I started, and that would bring different, you know, like strategies. Like when people ask me how to grow now, I'm like, I probably can't tell you anymore because what works for me then probably would not work for you now, and that's not what I care about anymore. Like I'm not interested in growing anymore. If it happens organically, cool, but that's not like my mindset anymore for my business. So I'm not going to be the best to tell you because it's ever evolving. But if you find other people that are similar sizes and similar places and you brainstorm and work together and try different things out, you're much more likely to succeed than just going on your own.
Sheesh. Amen.
Amen.
Elise,
It
thank
was
you so much for
so
coming
fun
on.
talking to you.
This was such a good episode, and I can't wait to like listen to it again. And like, you're just so inspiring. I'm so inspired by what you share and how you've taken your home journey and your personal journey, and they're like woven together in this beautiful way, and it's like so cool.
Thank
So thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you. I still have lots of goals and dreams, but happy with where I'm at too. So
Oh, I'm so proud of you.
thank you.
You're so
Thanks for your support always. You are the epitome of cheering on, especially other women, always. I've felt that from the very first little freshly picked event I went to when I had, a few hundred followers. that I was like, I don't know how I'm here.
Well,
But
I think everyone can be successful. And like, if that's what you want, let's
I
go
was
for it.
literally having a discussion with my husband the other night of how technology has opened up more opportunities for women,
Mm,
I think, than anybody else. Like that I get to be a mom and run a business, like that wouldn't have been possible without. Like it just I love how much it opens up for women to do all the things, and women are just amazing. So,
yes, yes, yes.
yes,
All of it.
yes.
Okay, girl. Have a good day.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Have a great day. Plan a trip to Italy.
Oh, okay. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.